Thank you, everyone, for joining this evening. Tracy and I are going to talk about teams and the advisory board and how we can get the best out of teams, really, for yourselves. And the aim is to sort of, I suppose, from Tracy's point of view, sort of think about teams, how you're using it, how you're using it with the AB board, Tracy, and what those meetings are like, and how we can probably utilise it a bit more. I think, and for you to sort of pinpoint those things that you're considering in your presentation tonight. So, as I say, any questions tonight, please pop them into the chat bar, and we'll monitor that and try to answer those the best we can. But I'll pass over to Tracy now. Tracy obviously is the head teacher at Daymiln Primary School. I'm sure most of you know Tracy, so I'll also let her introduce herself as well and carry on with the presentation. So thanks ever so much for joining us, Tracy, and thanks for doing this.
No problem at all. I'm happy for that introduction, Joe. I won't say anything again. But I have been at Daymiln. This is my 3rd year of headship. So Teams has been quite a big part of how I communicate with the advisory board. And there's been some real useful ways to be able to collaborate during COVID, but also since then. So it's been fantastic because obviously you're limited with the amount of meetings you have. But I find, and what I want to do moving forward, is more of a consultation on different bits throughout the school year. Now, it is lovely to see you, and please make sure you are adding things into the chat, because it's really useful to be able to get something purposeful from this. So answer any questions you've got, or make any comments you've got. But I do see Leslie, and obviously I know Leslie very well, so hello. Okay, so if I move on. Right, so quick wins, something that we always find useful, whether it's in school or whether it's the advisory board, is those quick wins that have a high impact. So if you're looking at Teams, if it's something quite new, or even if it's something you've not really utilised yet, the emojis are huge for us. So when we're uploading a Word document or a file, just simply having a like to say that you've acknowledged it, that you've seen it, and we always use the heart if it's something that's really great. So our team might be working on their advisory board plan, development plan, and if there's a really key part, it's great just to acknowledge that that's something that'd be really, really useful. And we're all used to emojis, so there we go. Another huge one for us is, and I don't know whether this is relevant for you guys, but I really think so. When you've got emails and they come in one by one, and then you lose your thread, or you've run out of space, so you have to delete a folder, and then suddenly you've lost your train of thought. We replaced it with chat. So when you're using your Teams chat, you've always got that reminder, and you can revisit that when you need to revisit a conversation, or you need to go back to something you spoke about previously. That's been, again, a quick win for us with high impact. So we're not trawling our emails to try and continue a conversation from a couple of months ago. So that's a quick win for us. And then scheduling calls. When you're scheduling through Teams, it goes straight into your calendar, which sits obviously alongside your work appointments and everything else. So rather than scheduling your call or your meeting, popping it into a diary or on a bit of paper and not revisiting that, it just gives you that reminder. And I don't know whether it came up on the screen, Joe, but I had a reminder of a call later. So whether you all saw my diary then.
No, didn't see it. So that was all good.
But it is great to remind you.
Yeah.
So it worked there. Okay, so in terms of the Teams overview that we find beneficial as well, just again looking at basics, you can see there just a very small picture, but it's just a screenshot of the main channel in our Teams. So again, although you can't see it great, I'm happy to talk you through different bits, but you can see where I've shared. Oh, Peter can't hear anything, Joe.
Just read that. Peter, I know you've just left and come back again, haven't you? I just wonder if you can try maybe turning off your device and then rebooting and opening Teams up again and trying again. It might be your end. I'll look and check the connections here, but I think everything's fine my end at the moment. Sorry, Peter. Hope that helps.
And obviously I'm not used to being called quiet or anything like that, so if you revisit the video, you hopefully you'll hear me there. So for us, there's you can share simple data overviews. I can snip that and get that straight away to our advisory board, and they can have a look through, or we can share documents, or we can start a chat and a thread through our general channel. But you can set it to be useful for you. So obviously this is the way it works for us at Daymiln. But it's a great way of sharing that information with all advisory board, and we can all contribute, and it's clear and concise, especially if you're putting those announcements. Often, sometimes if I start a conversation, it can get lost in, but if I do it as an announcement, you've got that big, you might be able to see that blue header that you could refer to. And again, something that we are able to do is change that colour. So all of our active announcements are blue, and then if it's a conversation that's finished that we don't need to revisit, you just simply change it to red, so it's easier to scroll through and see what active parts are there. Obviously, it's confidential to all of those that are on your channel, on your teams, but you can also have a locked channel. So if there's things you need to discuss with certain members, just so it's not clogging up their feed, you can lock a channel, and it can just be between that group. For example, we've got an AD member that is responsible for people premium and disadvantaged, and it might be that our deputy head is conversing with them through a locked channel. It's just easier than everyone getting tagged and having lots and lots of announcements. And then finally, obviously, you've got the direct links through Teams to Office 365. So we've started to utilise in school forms, sways and whiteboards, which I'll come on to later, because that's how we're thinking of moving forward at Daimill now that we've got Teams embedded. Okay, so how it's evolved for us. I just wanted to talk really about the opportunities it's had. Again, I've done some screen grabs just for information, so you can see that it actually is there on our Teams and it's there to go. So for us, there's a real opportunity to collaborate on our Raising Achievement Plan. So that's just a screen grab of something we started, a conversation we started last year around different search engines we could use. And we talked about ECOSI, and we were talking about that we wanted to go for our Eco Schools Award, and we'd needed a key stakeholder from our advisory board to join us. So it's conversations we were having. And again, it had real purpose, because at that point we weren't getting into schools. There was lots of virtual meetings. But again, I'm pretty sure that's a evening contribution from Martha, who was our chair at that time. It just kept that conversation going when she had time to be able to respond. And just an aside, we now have our green flag for Eco Schools. So it was great that we could all come together and collaborate on our achievements. You've also got that opportunity to celebrate. So again, rather than waiting for the next meeting, we'd achieved accreditation for a training school so that we could offer placements for our teacher trainees. And it's a really big accolade for us. We were really, really impressed. So I simply copied and pasted it, put it into our general channel, and we were able to celebrate that and again recognise it later at the meeting. There's the opportunity for challenge. So at the point where we were doing our online engagement, at one meeting we talked about who was engaging from home, but it just meant, again, rather than waiting for your next meeting, I was able to put up the weekly statistics of engagement, and also welcomed the challenge of ideas of what moving forward. And again, I think at that point we'd had everybody over 90%, which was a real achievement for us in terms of we were making more devices available, and we had children in school. So it was something that the advisory board could really get involved with, and for more information more than anything. Then opportunity to inform. So again, during that time and continuing, attendance was a national issue. Attendance at Daimill was something that we were working on and are working on still within this year, but I was able to give that comparison to national data that was coming through our CST bulletins. So rather than just looking at figures for Daimill, I was able to provide the advisory board with a comparison so they could really judge us against a national statistic when our statistics looked quite poor, but compared nationally, it was pretty good at that time. So we had that one there. And then more so, we've had the opportunity to share. So our engagement days, we're able to work together on a timetable that were akin to the engagement, the advisory board development plan. So we're able to all link to that. We're moving forward with the way that we share and we collaborate, which I'll go on to in a moment. But at that time, we were all contributing to a Word document. Then the opportunity to communicate. So I talked earlier about it doesn't always have to be the whole advisory board meeting. This was a meeting that I had with my current chair, just a budget review meeting that we'd set in that we were able to access through our teams at that point. So that was just our financial review in January, I think it was. And then finally, we were able to inform our skills audit. So another one Anna posted, we're able to all contribute to that skills audit and then see how that could be utilised moving forward. And then my question mark is, because we want to continue, want to move even further now that we're becoming proficient within the Teams area. So how we plan to move forward, and how I think it'd be useful if you're looking at your own teams. And again, I don't know your starting point, so ignore me if you're already there. But collaboration, something that's worked really well within our teachers, is the whiteboard feature, and it's something that we can access through our teams. It just means that we can live collaborate more than one person at a time, and it's been great when we've used it as a staff to do our termly reviews on our raising achievement plan. But for me as a head teacher and working with my advisory board, it'd be great for us all to have input on that and have a look and see where things are going or how to be strategic over the responses. Again, content library and OneNote has been something that we're working on within a classroom, and I think for us it's really useful to have that information. It's a place where you can store generic information, or you can differentiate with your children. But what we're going to look at is with our engagement day, because we're looking at the achievements of pupil premium with interventions, I want to be able to share with my advisory board the content library that they are having, and so that it can be viewed by all of you. Joe, is my sound okay? Because I've just had a message flag up.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm sorry. And then sharing, I mentioned it on the last slide. We want to be able to utilise different ways of sharing. So we're looking at our newsletters and trying to get our advisory board to be more visible. But through our newsletters, we're now sharing them through Sway, and have been for this academic year. And we've been having a look at QR codes and implementing those through targets. But again, working with our advisory board next year so that they can create their own Sways and OneNotes as well. So we're looking at OneNote for moving forward. But basically, what we want to be able to do is work together with our advisory board to prepare for our 21st century curriculum, because that's what we're doing within the classroom. So it's important that when we're being challenged or we're working together, that we're looking at that same standard of digitally working. So the things that we're looking forward for next year is for everyone to have a profile on Learn, which was our MEC, which all the teachers are. Our aim is, we've applied to be a showcase school, so that all members of staff, including our office staff as well, have profiles for next year. We're looking at everybody have been doing the MIE pathway, which is, I don't know whether you're going to come on to this, Joe, but which is a pathway of small chunk sizes of CPD, so that everyone can have a standard to be able to deliver that or monitor different learning within the curriculum. We want to have a percentage of MIE. We want one of those to be one of our advisory board members, so that we have, again, representatives from all of our stakeholders. And then I smile because I really think it's important that we have a lot of people that have gone through the MCE exam and are accredited for the work that we deliver. And that's something, again, we want to be able to do within our school. We've already started with some of our teachers, but it's something we really feel passionate about with our trainee teachers as well as other school staff members, and we would really like moving forward to be working with our advisory board on this. And I think it's something that'd be great for other advisory boards too. A really low stake invitation, but come and have a look, because we offer Edtech open days, and so do other schools within the trust that are on the journey. That we've got a group of 5, I think it is, incubator schools that are applying to be showcased. We're in wave 1 and we're offering wave 2 and wave 3 schools, so every school will be applying through this process. But we've had such positive feedback about coming on an Edtech open day, where you can see the technology in action, how it works, how it links into teaching and learning, how it's moving children forward, how it's closing the gap for interventions. And for me, when I was starting on the journey, I needed to see it. So that's what, you're more than welcome to come. We'd love to have you. It doesn't have to just be on an Edtech open day. You can come and have a look how we're utilising the technology, but not just as technology. It really is pushing forward our learning and our communication. So that's us. Joe, that was all right. I thought I didn't waffle too much.
No, good.
Any questions, or have I stunned everybody into silence? Hopefully not.
No questions at the moment, but I I think what you mentioned about the Edtech Open Day is a really good point. I think sometimes we don't market it probably enough to say, you know, every stakeholder is welcome. I think we'd probably say, oh, the teachers from other schools, please come in. But actually it is for all stakeholders, isn't it? Especially advisory board members as well. Yeah, please come along to those, because the 5 schools are doing amazing things. And it's well worth a look. And you're absolutely right. It gives an understanding, doesn't it, of what actually that blended learning approach is, and demystifies it in a way. Would you agree?
Definitely. And if nothing else, you get to come and see how the children are utilising the technology. And like I say, it's, for me, it's about having something where you feel like you can ask questions and you can look at something in a non-threatening environment. My whole life is like that. I don't like to be put into a worried environment, and the children will come and they'll work with you, and they'll talk to you about different things and how they've presented different things. Leslie, you said you're stunned. Hopefully it's by my amazing presenting skills. But it might be by the content. But I'm more than happy, come over. It'd be great to show you. Oh, there we go. Thanks for the invite. Please do take me up on it. It'd be great to show you what we're doing at Dame Mill. But there are other schools. Jo, do we want to say those other schools?
Yes, you can definitely say it. Yeah. Do you want to do that?
Moacre are on the journey. Farndon are on the journey. Now I'm testing myself. Who else are on the journey? Kibworth are on the journey, and they are the main school, aren't they? They're the Edtech demonstrator school, so they are fantastic practice. So we've got those 2. I'm missing 2, Jo. I've gone blank.
Who did you say? So
me. We've got Farndon, we've got Kibworth, we've got Moacre. Who's the fifth? Walden Hill. There we go.
Yeah. And I was just reading Peter's message. I apologise. I was just going to apologise to Peter, but I can see he's not there at the moment. But I was just thinking, if he wants some support with teams, I can offer a one-to-one as support as well. So I'll try and contact Peter after this meeting, after this webinar. So I was just going to share, if that's all right, Tracy, and mine kind of links in with what you've covered, and I think it's nice because yours has come from that, you know, very much you've covered how the school is approaching it, how you're using it, with the AB board. I suppose mine is a little bit more from that approach that how might it look, how might these evolve. You know, the Teams area evolve a bit more for AB boards. That's the kind of aspect I've taken from this. I'm just going to find my presentation hopefully now. That's why I'm just gone a bit quiet, so apologies. I've lost where I put it. It was never a good thing.
Do anything to stop sharing, or can you override mine?
Yeah, if you can stop sharing, that'd be great. Thank you, Tracy. That's brilliant. I'm just going to hopefully upload mine now.
Yeah, I've pulled mine. I think it's wiring.
You never know with this. It should something's happening.
Yeah,
so
yours is coming up now. I can see there we go.
Okay, good. Just not sure I've got full control. There we go. Yes, got full control now. Was much better. So I've taken this from the viewpoint that, as I say, this is how the areas might evolve on Teams for advisory boards. I'm going to whiz past the first couple of slides just because obviously you know what this evening is about. But I think for me, Teams really is that place that you can now personalise, and there's so much in it, as Tracy just mentioned. There's so much about the Office 365 suite out there that I think, because we lead such busy lives, we can never actually we never find out about all of it, and it all interlinks and it's all interwoven. And I think Teams now is that one-stop shop where we can put everything. So I've just sort of started with that viewpoint that a team area can be whatever you want it to be, and for so many different groups of people, as you know. So this first one was a school, a classroom team, an online area that children use with their teachers for their learning. The next example of a team area is a network team. So the teachers come together in this team area, and we meet probably every half term and to discuss, this is the IT leads and the blended learning champions, and we discuss key issues and updates that we need for blended learning. But that team there holds it all together and allows us to communicate really well, because obviously like everybody, we've not been able to meet sort of face to face very often over the last few years. So that team area has been really important for that. But also as a, this is a whole team, school team that's created. So lots of schools have this one place where all the classroom planning goes into the different channels for the year groups. The teacher CPD might be there in the channels, and schools have created these differently, but that's one whole team that all the staff there can access, and they can access all those key things like policies and even social events on there. But that team has really helped, as I say, to communicate, allow people to communicate. We've even used the team as a teaching and learning platform area. So we've evolved the different channels into key areas, and in this particular team, every member of the trust, all the teaching staff are in this team so that they can access the different areas of that strategy and understand it and add to it, as well as see what's been updated on that team. So it's a really great place for keeping up to date with key strategies and also what's happening with the trust strategy as well. And then this last team is obviously the Discovery Advisory Board team here, just that's showing the channels there and that welcome message from Anna, which you're used to seeing. And I just wonder whether, these over the next couple of years, this might evolve even more. And through this presentation, I suppose tonight, and with what Tracy said, you might decide to add some of the features into it, or maybe even request to be an owner of it, so that you can sort of take a little bit of ownership of that team area too, possibly. But there's different teams, and I think the advisory board team is a professional learning community team, which means that it doesn't have the same functionality as the class team and the staff team, which I've kind of just shown you a few examples of there. And obviously they're used in different ways for different groups. But the fact is, I think the actual Discovery Advisory Board team at the moment doesn't use the actual notebook area. And again, that's fine, but I think over the next few years, or even next year, you might find you will start to use that, maybe for the minutes of the meetings, maybe to communicate on there, to store information, to add key points, or to collaborate on there as well. You might find it's a really beneficial tool, because the OneNote is really powerful, but it just needs, I think, introducing sort of gradually for your group members, and it will allow you to record different things within those meetings, and you'll find it more useful the more you because it's electronic and it's in one place, and you can all then access different information from it. The team is, I think, behind the scenes as well of the team is interesting, because obviously there's usually only a few owners, but often lots of members and guests. The members have more permissions than guests, so I think most of the RAB board are members, and you can access what the owners put onto these teams. But as I mentioned earlier, if you did want to possibly be an owner of a team and be able to add things to it and communicate and collaborate with Anna, I'm sure Anna will be happy to have that conversation, possibly, because there's lots you can add to it, and get people to start collaborating a little bit more with you as well, as Tracy mentioned. So I put on here polls and stickers and YouTube and praise. When you create and add a conversation to the posts area, all these little icons underneath are things that we don't tend to use that often, but they're really great apps that can start to allow people to collaborate more within your conversation that you might be having in that team area, which I'll show you at the end in an actual team, so you can appreciate what they actually do. But even in terms of the conversations, you know, posting a conversation, starting a conversation, I'm hoping you have the rights in there. I think you probably might not in the general channel, but in the other channels, you will definitely have the opportunity to add a conversation, start one. And if you've never actually opened, you know, started one, it might be worth just giving that a go and going to the blue button, which opens up a conversation. Then you go to the capital A and the little pen there. Click on that, and that opens the conversation up even more. And you can go to the new conversation and come down to an announcement and add a banner onto your conversation. But I'll again go to the actual team in a minute and show you how to do that if anyone is interested in that. And again, I mean, some people watching this back may already know how to do all of this, but if you don't and you're interested, I'm always happy to meet you after this webinar as well and go through those bits if there isn't time to answer questions today. But that is a really useful way of then posting, starting a conversation, adding to it, adding more interest for people. And then inside the tabs as well. So inside the channel, sorry, you've got tabs along the top here. And these tabs, again, are really great because you can add websites into the actual team. So you don't have to go onto the World Wide Web and find those websites that are important and have the information on that you need. You can just embed that into the team and just click on the tab at the top and find exactly what you're looking for and scroll down and investigate that website there and then. So again, you know, these things I think will be helpful as the AB board teams evolve. I've already mentioned the fact that the notebook in your particular team isn't used at the moment, but if you go to the general channel in any team, there will be access to a notebook. See, this is one is at the top here on the tab, and this is just the default setting of this particular PLC notebook. So the sections and the pages within this notebook are set up just like this. As soon as you open it, you can then go in and adapt it and change it and create a notebook to look however you want it to. You know, personalize it for your meetings and your group setting. But again, it is a really good place to have discussions, collaborate, and the PLC notebook as well is accessible for everybody. So whatever you put on there, you will see. If it was a notebook in a class team or a staff team, then only the owners would be able to see everything in that notebook. But with the PLC notebook, it's great because everyone can access everything there, which is probably more useful for an AB board anyway. Another thing that you can add later on as well, or the owner of the team can add, so it might be worth talking to Anna about this, or I'm happy to talk to Anna as well, is an actual homepage in there. So it's a bit like a web page that you can create within your own AB board, you know, in your advisory board team area. And this lives, every team has something called SharePoint behind it. And within SharePoint, you can create this kind of web page for your team, and you can add again web pages, articles, information that again are really current for your group. And again, it's just a nice way to see that. It's a very visually pleasing way of seeing information. But I think again, perhaps something that might not have evolved yet for the AB team area, but would definitely benefit it. And again, I'm happy to talk to Anna about that. But also, again, those tabs, you can add websites like the trust website or the school websites above as well. So again, you can access what's going on very quickly and easily. In any of the channels, you can add tabs. So it's not just the general channel. All of the channels allow you to add different tabs to them and give you instant access there to that information. So adding a channel again is easy. You can just go to the dots at the top and you can come down to add channel. You give the channel a name, type that in, and if you want to there and then you can add people to that channel, or if it's private, or you can add them later on. But it's very quick and easy to set up a new channel. You just need to make sure that everybody in that team agrees that you need that channel and it's going to be useful. So again, it is a discussion for everybody that's using it. But as I say, are useful. And Tracy, I think you mentioned about lock channels, didn't you? And again, this is how that lock channel would appear. Again, I couldn't see any lock channels in the the advisory board team, but it might be that I've not got access to those lock channels. That's why probably I can't see them. But here you can see, as an owner of this particular team, I can see that it's locked because it's got that little padlock next to it, and anything going into that little channel there would be only accessible for the chair and the CEO. Again, it's nice to be able to do that in a team, but still make that team a one-stop shop. So the CEO and the chair don't have to go elsewhere to look for that information. They can still stay in the team, but just put it into that locked channel, which is just for them and the person or that group there. So again, these might be things you want to talk about, maybe creating and evolving for your team area. And then I know when we're in sort of teams meetings online, sometimes they go so quickly and you don't have time to sort of look at the functionality of the buttons at the top. So you know, and also it might be that you've never created a meeting in the team as well. It might be that you feel that you do need to meet with somebody quickly within that team. You can just use the little button at the top, that Meet Now button, and ask them to come into your meeting. If you don't record it, if you don't press record, then you can just have a quick, just a face-to-face chat within the team with that person. Or you can schedule a meeting, as Tracy said, just from this button as well, using that drop-down arrow there, and schedule a meeting to meet with your colleagues in the team area. The next slide just talks about obviously the people in the team. Every time you go into a meeting, I'm sure you're aware that now you can see who's in that meeting. But as the owner of the meeting, if you created that meeting, the little dots there would allow you to either mute them or turn the cameras off, or give them access to more in the meeting, allow them to present. So that's worth just having a look at and investigating a little bit more. Again, the chat area, I know you use that really well, but again, I just sometimes think the other buttons at the bottom there within a chat. So as I mentioned in the posts area in the team, you can open it up. If you click on the capital A in the pen in the conversation, in the little chat bar there, again, you can open that up a little bit more and keep typing and press the enter button. So, and your message won't be posted straight away when you press that enter button, because you've opened the message up a little bit more. But you can also upload your any files from your computer or from OneDrive here as well. You can attach them into that chat area, which again, if you want to open you know, something up and look at it there and then discuss it in the meeting, it's really useful. The next little app on symbol on their icon is the loop components, and again, this is fairly new to the chat bar in Teams, but it allows you to just add a quick bullet list or a checklist or a table into the chat bar, and you can all edit it all together. So you can see here I posted that one, and now everyone can collaborate on that particular list there. They can add whatever they want to it all together, and in a meeting like that, that's really quite useful to be able to quickly collaborate on it, add everyone's ideas, but then afterwards at the end be able to go back and have a look at that list as well, because it will be in your chat bar in the actual team area too. The ... again, I sometimes think is you know, a missed opportunity. There's lots in there that you can have a play around with. You know, the device settings, so you can check your mic and your sound settings are within that. The meeting options as well, so you can again change what people can do, how they can present. You can change those there, but also if somebody hasn't got the meeting information or the link to the meeting, you can send it from there in the meeting info. If you just open that up, you can then quickly copy the link to the meeting and send it out to somebody else. The meeting notes as well, I don't think these are utilised as much as they should be, especially for, I think, advisory boards. You know, if you're taking minutes, you could just use the meeting notes within the actual meeting itself and type them up there so everyone can see them form with it, you know, in real time. That's a really useful one, and that also links to the tab within the team, so they're saved in the team area, so you can go back and access them later too. I think sometimes it's nice to have a bit of fun with the gallery and the together mode. So, you know, if you ever get a chance to do that in a meeting, in your next meeting, please ask people to give that a go. And, you know, you're recording your meeting obviously sits down here as well. Your background effects, if you've never had to play around with those, again, you know, that's the place to do that. Apply a background. I'll talk about that very briefly in a moment. And also the it says here, don't show chat bubbles. But if you allow the chat bubbles, you can then, as you're presenting, if anyone puts something in the chat bar, those messages will appear on the screen as you're presenting. And sometimes that's quite useful. You know, having the chat bar up sometimes reduces the space on the screen. It's quite nice to have it actually in the moment during the meeting. So again, you can open those up if you are the owner of that meeting there. But they're just here, as you can see, I mentioned the meeting notes. So if you go back at the end of the meeting and you've been using them in the general channel here, you'll see the tab has formed there. It says meeting notes, and any notes that you make about your advisory board meeting will appear there. The minutes could appear there as well, so everyone can see them afterwards. And then bit of a serious face there, but I mentioned the background settings. So here, if you clicked on that ... at the top, you'd get all the different background settings that you could use. And then there's also an add new button at the top there. If you click on that, you can then personalize the background and you can add your own background setting to during the meeting there if you wanted to. And then I think sometimes this is missed as well, that shared content. I am always missing out the sound button controller. So it says here, include computer sound. If you press that button there, slide it across, it will allow the sound. So when you go to that share button at the top there, just make sure you put that on. I constantly forget it. And then also if you scroll down, you can see you've got your PowerPoints that you can present here. You can either just present from your window or from the full screen, or as Tracy mentioned, this is where the Microsoft Whiteboard can be used as well. And you can open that whiteboard up and you can all collaborate on that together in your meeting, which again is really powerful, isn't it, Tracy? That adds so much to a meeting.
Definitely, I think it's probably one of my favourite tools, because again, instead of post-it notes that you have to type up later, missing people's voices, you can literally collaborate on one document. It's so useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once you've finished your meeting, you'd click either leave, or the drop down arrow is sometimes useful because then that does actually end the meeting. So if you're the owner of that meeting and you want everyone to actually leave, just make sure you go to the drop down arrow there and end the actual meeting. And then just at the side here, this last image on this slide is just showing you that once that meeting is finished, you can then access those notes here and also the attendance report too. And obviously in an advisory board meeting, you do need to know who's attended. That gives you that information there. You can just download that quickly and get the information. So it does, you know, wrap everything up for you that you kind of need in your meetings. I did mention about creating the meeting in the team. So you can either use the Meet Now button or you can schedule a meeting, which again is what Tracy said. You can either do that in the calendar, as Tracy said, so that calendar icon is just there, or you can schedule it within the actual team itself. So here you can see on the channel bar there, because I've set this up in the actual team, it says advisory board there. This actual diary invite, this meeting is going to be set up in the team itself. So I just need to put the title in. I wouldn't need to add the attendees because everybody in the advisory board team will be able to access this meeting, put the dates and the times in, send it, and then once I've sent it, then this message here appears in the team, and when everyone's ready to join that meeting on that day, they click on that button there, and the meeting will open up. So you can either do it to, there's a few ways to do it. Either, as Tracy said, in the calendar, which is useful because it reminds you when you're looking at your calendar, or when you go into the team, if you've got those meetings set up there, that's always quite a nice way of doing it as well. So you've got a few ways of creating those meetings. So this is again linked to what Tracy mentioned. Tracy mentioned about the Learn Educator Centre, and this is kind of just, I suppose, me offering the information to yourselves as well. I'm happy to share the PowerPoint with you. I can pop it into the chat bar after this. But there's a link here that takes you to the Work Collaborative with Staff and PLC teams. If you wanted to do that course on the Learn Centre, you could take that and then get your first badge. If you wanted to, you could join it. All the teachers have got the members of the Learn Educator Centre now. There's lots of great information there about the Microsoft Office 365 suite. It's not just about Teams, it's about everything. And if you don't want to do the courses, it's worth just registering anyway, because they've got the product guides on there, and they're great because they take you to really quick video clips, how-to guides. So again, you don't have to go through the courses on there, but the courses really are fairly short, and there's just a little knowledge check at the end. I think they've reduced the knowledge checks now. There used to be 10 questions. I think there's something like 5 now, so they're not very long at all. And again, as I say, you get a little badge if you do complete one of those courses. It's well worth having a look there. And then the other place that I think most educators go to now is the Mike Tholfsen YouTube site. So again, it really quick, easy video clips that you can watch. And again, not just about Teams, about all those different things we've mentioned, Sway, Forms, OneNote, they're all on there, easy to access, which is ideal. And I do say they are short, they're nice, and you can sort of fit them into a coffee break or into a lunchtime, or very quickly after school or after your working day. So that's mine and Tracy's email address. Hope that's okay, Tracy. I pop that on there. If you do want any more information about how to just maybe make the advisory board team I suppose a little bit more collaborative, and just you use a few more of the tools in there. You probably are using lots of the tools, so I'm sorry if I've told you about things you already do use and about, but that is the actual presentation I got. I was just going to show you very briefly, if people are okay for time, is just the website that we don't want that. Let's just dismiss all of those. Just here, I think that's the Mike Tholfsen website. Sorry, it's not that. I'm just going to show you the Teams area. I'll get there in the end, sorry. It's just this one here. So just there is the advisory board. This is a demo advisory board area. So it's the actual team itself. And I just wanted to show you how, if you start to use those tabs at the top, they really do start to work for you. So as I said, you could add a website. If there's a particular website you access all the time, you could just put it into the team at the top there and be able to access that. The other options are the home page that I mentioned. So you could create yourselves an advisory board news feed and quick links. And again, you could access that here, and anything that, any documents or articles that you're adding would all be stored there, and all the documents as well are listed there on that home page too. So it's another place to go to access those, which again can be useful. And then I've popped Dame Mill's website on there because obviously you might want to see the the advisory board page on the school's websites. Sometimes that's useful to know about the updates and what's going on. So you could put that link in there as well. The other one I was just going to mention is it was the induction information, I think. You can also link your tabs to apps as well. So this one's linked to a Trello board. So if you use Trello, you can put your Trello board in here, and you can use that a bit like a planner, your to-do list. And if your whole group has things they need to do, you could add that board into it. What's nice about it is you can go into the board, into those cards on the board, and you can also add documents to that board as well. So you know, Trello again is a nice one, or the planner. So the other option, if your advisory board wants to use a planner or the Trello board, you can add that as a tab there. I think the planner is on the general page. We just go back to the general tab, and the planner is more of a Microsoft, I'll put it under tasks, it's a Microsoft app. So you could add the planner in, and again that does the same thing. So if you had to do, you know, your to-do list there, your completed tasks and to discuss, and again you could add people into those tasks so that they're included, they know what the deadline for it. You just add your tasks at the top, you go into it, and it gives you this whether you've started it or not, the date you want to complete it by, is it important. You can add a checklist, you can add attachments to it. But again, it's a nice way to collaborate and work within the team, you know, especially if you've got key things you've got to get done by a certain time there. But as I say, there's lots you can do in it, and you can see the channels are really useful. You can put specific things in. The only last thing I was going to mention, I suppose, was on the, when you're adding a conversation, are these little icons at the bottom here. I did mention, think it was, you can use a form. So if you wanted to send out a quick questionnaire to people in your team, you could just link it to forms there, which is the Microsoft app for questionnaires, or for a quick quick question or quick form, whichever. And so it's throwing me by doing that. And so you put your question in. So just we could just say that, type that in, you can put your options in. There we go, and you should then be able to, you can put more options in if you wanted to. You can share the results with everybody, and you might want to get their names as well. That'll only be visible to you as the creator of this, and then you can preview it, and then you can send it, and that will then be posted into your conversation area. And you can just see if I submit a vote there, you'll see that it starts to tell me what the preference is for that quick question. So as Tracy mentioned, there's lots of things we can still do with the Teams area. I just think it's knowing about it. And if, as I say, if you do want to know more after this webinar, please let us know, and we can arrange either another meeting or another session. That's okay. So I think that's everything I wanted to mention. So if there can't see any other questions, can you, Tracy? Did I miss any?
No, although I think Leslie's typing.
But thank you for your time this evening, everyone. And I hope that was helpful. And as I say, if there's anything you did see tonight that you want to know more about, give us a contact us and let us know. But enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for joining us.